that stuff is bad for you, just through and throughout. It's never good for you. The less of it you have in your life, the better. I didn't know this though. I didn't know that it contributes to violence in a relationship. What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another Find Your Formula Reacts. Today, we're going to be reacting to this video that I saw on Trending by Finding Sky. Talks about how modern feminism scammed a generation of women. I started watching some of it, but I was like, you know what? I started this whole channel to be more productive when I'm just wasting time. So that's what we're going to do right now. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
1 second, feminism is demonizing men for objectifying women, and in the next, it's encouraging girls to sell their body on OnlyFans so that men can objectify them. I mean, which is it? Are you sexually empowered, or are you a victim of oppression? I used to consider myself a feminist until I realized that women were using it as a means to justify going out like this and then complaining about being called hot.
Facts.
Shorty, have you seen your own ass? I swear to God, women are the only ones that can spend 2 hours doing their makeup and picking out an outfit and then still say they don't want to be judged on their appearance. Girl, you literally pulled up your leggings to your third rib and gave yourself the ultimate wedgie. We know you didn't dress like this for you. When you look at the actual definition of feminism, all it is supporting women having access to equal rights. I'm not gonna anti-feminist as someone who agrees with the core definition of feminism. But the problem is that the word has evolved to mean something. It's not just about women's rights anymore, there are other ideological strings attached. A major concept of modern feminism has been encouraging sexual liberation. This was started partly due to the double standard around sexuality for men and women. When a man frequently engages in casual sex, he's considered a stud, but when a girl does it, she's considered sexual promiscuity leads to less satisfaction.
The biggest reason behind that, she's speaking 100% facts. The biggest reason behind all of that is because it's far more difficult. Okay, when we talk about rights, we often forget about roles and responsibilities. Yes, if a man has sex with a whole bunch of women, he's considered a stud. If a woman has sex with a bunch of guys, she's considered a slut. That's one of the biggest talking points that feminists talk about. But the thing is, the role and responsibility pretty much has always been on women to control who gets born and who doesn't. Every person who's here right now had to pass through the legs of a woman to get here. So if you hold that power, that means that you have to hold that responsibility. So when I hear this talking point, I'm like, yeah, it's way harder for men to do that. So when they do that, have sex with a bunch of women, they're exalted, because that's not an easy thing to do. And women know this because they don't even talk to most of the guys that shoot their shot at them, but yet they get upset when there's a guy there who's running through them. It's like you all want the same guy. It's a different problem. It's a bigger issue.
In relationships for both genders. Just because it's more socially acceptable for a guy to have casual sex doesn't mean women should be trying to match that expectation by normalizing it. Two wrongs don't make a right, and promoting a destructive behavior under the marketable guise of sexual liberation is abhorrent. It's so interesting how women constantly complain about how shallow and objectifying their relationships with men are, but then promote hookup culture, which directly encourages this exact transactional process. If feminism actually cared about women as much as it claims to, the movement would be encouraging them to be more selective about their sexual partners. It would be educating them about the negative effects of casual sex, since we know that it leads to decreased relationship satisfaction, loneliness, and depression. And look, I know people are going to take this as me trying to tell women how to live. That's not what I'm doing at all. You have all the freedom in the world to live exactly how you please. However, where I do have an issue is when a cultural movement is built on a foundation of lies. If you're going to have an entire movement, an entire ideology who claims its very goal is to benefit women, then encourage behavior that actually benefits women. At one point, this movement had genuinely pure intentions. It's the reason I have a right to vote and work and be educated. Feminism changed our lives as women for the better. So I'm sorry, but I can't help but feel like now it's doing the complete opposite. It's a common feminist position to be anti-life. They insist that tribes have some sort of Stockholm syndrome where they've fallen in love with their own oppression, claiming that it perpetuates.
Right, but the whole point of feminism, like she said, was choice. And if that's what that woman chooses, it's crazy that those same feminists are coming for her neck, calling her a pick-me, calling her this, calling her that. When it's like, that was the whole point of the movement. If you wanted to do that, you can still do that. You don't have to, but you can.
Traditional gender roles which have held women back. But I thought what actual feminism was supposed to be about was supporting women's freedom of choice. That means supporting them if they choose to climb the corporate ladder and supporting them if they choose to be a housewife. I thought the whole point of feminism was to respect a woman's freedom of choice, even if it's not the choice we would personally make. It was to recognize that there's not a one-size-fits-all lifestyle for women and that they should be able to prioritize what's important to them. Feminism will argue against this by saying that choices don't exist in a vacuum and society impacts your ability to make autonomous decisions decisions, but you can make that exact same argument on the other side too. I could sit here and tell you that your decision to be a feminist is because social media has brainwashed you into believing that women are oppressed. So your choice to be a feminist isn't a real choice at all, but instead a reaction to your cultural environment. You can run in circles forever trying to make this argument against either side. That's because it's a dumb
No,
argument.
I was about to
Who
say,
are you
yeah.
to assume that
If it's a circular argument, that means that it's not based in any real evidence or substance. And she's cooking in this video. I don't really even have much to say because she's hitting every bullet point, like boom, boom, boom. She's killing it.
a woman's choices aren't autonomous? The mere assumption of that is actually quite anti-feminist of you. This is the female version of Sneeko calling everyone who disagrees with him a bot. You're accusing grown women of being incapable of coming to their own autonomous conclusions. That means you're doing the exact thing that you constantly accuse men of doing to you. Maybe some women like traditional gender roles. That's cool. Let them do their thing just like you're allowed to do yours. I'm the most masculine woman I've ever met. I should be the first in line to be championing the end of traditional gender roles. But I'm not like this because I'm resisting the patriarchy. This is just a part of how I am. I like buying stocks, playing with boobs. I'm just a chill guy. WAP. Women against porn. Except in today's terms, it means wet ass put. With modern feminism currently preaching sexual liberation, it may be surprising to learn that at one point it was the complete opposite. In the 1970s, anti-pornography was a growing part of feminism. And when you think about it, it actually makes perfect sense. Because it's consistent with the core values of feminism. To demonize the objectification of women and stop the fetishization of sexual violence against them. We know that porn is overwhelmingly aggressive towards women. We also know that consumers are more likely to commit acts of sexual violence, less likely to intervene if they witness an assault, and more likely to objectify and dehumanize women.
I don't want to read that. What's it say? So, pornography leads to an increased likelihood for women to perpetuate violence as well. Yeah, that stuff is bad for you, just through and throughout. It's never good for you. The less of it you have in your life, the better. I didn't know this though. I didn't know that it contributes to violence in a relationship. I do know that it ruins love, and I guess one of the ways it does that is through violence in a relationship. But that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
We know that porn is overwhelmingly aggressive towards women. We also know that consumers are more likely to commit acts of sexual violence, less likely to intervene if they witness an assault, and more likely to objectify and dehumanize women. Porn is seriously bad for both genders, but especially women. So to see the feminist movement glorify platforms like OnlyFans and other adult content feels like a complete slap in the face. How can you possibly complain about how oppressive it is to be objectified and then objectify yourself for profit?
Yeah, I was just about to say for money. For money. Money has taken the place of morals. It used to be, okay, we're doing this because we believe that it's right, or we're against this because we believe that it's wrong. Nowadays, what happens a lot of times in feminist movements and in other movements as well, it's like we're willing to capitulate our morals as long as we get paid for it, as long as the dollar amount is enough. Another example, which is kind of like an offshoot of this, is with marriage. You know, there was a guy, Adam 22. He pimped his wife out to some porn star to get stretched and bent over on OF, made millions of dollars from it. And it was like, there are some people that was cool with it. There's a lot of people that was like, nah, man, that's messed up. I'd never let that be me. But for the people that were cool with it, they were all saying the same thing. Well, how much did you get paid? How much money did you make? And it's like, that shouldn't matter. That's your wife. Like you married her and you guys are going to have kids together, assuming, right? Start a family together. And you're always going to be able to just go back and look at that video at that time that mommy was getting stretched out. And that's the woman that you married. So yeah, morals took a back seat and money stepped up. And man, when that starts to happen throughout society, it gets really bad. Because if you have all the money, then you can essentially do anything. You can be like, hey, go and kill that person for me. Well, killing is wrong. Okay, here's $200,000. Okay, I'll do it. And then boom. So she's, yeah, again, she's cooking, man. She's cooking.
Don't understand how modern feminists have come to this conclusion. Actually, that's a lie. I do understand. I completely understand. Because it would go against the sexual liberation movement. It goes against the sex positivity narrative. But one honest look at the statistics and it's blatantly clear. There's nothing liberating or positive about this industry. So what happened? Why did the anti-porn feminist protests stop? This article explains it perfectly. Anti-porn feminists were labeled sex negative in an era of feminism that was heavily influenced by liberalism. Individual choices, as opposed to mass liberation, became the forerunning feminist agenda. If that doesn't perfectly encapsulate the modern feminist movement, I don't know what does. The current movement wants all the ideal.
Let's run that back. Actually, that was powerful. Let's run that back.
As opposed to mass liberation became perfectly. Anti-porn feminists were labeled sex-negative in an era of feminism that was heavily influenced by liberalism. Individual choices, as opposed to mass liberation, became the forerunning feminist agenda. If that doesn't perfectly encapsulate the modern feminist movement, I don't know what does. The current movement wants all the ideals of feminism without having to sacrifice anything for it. The movement doesn't want to give up porn. It doesn't want to give up casual sex. That would be infringing on my personal freedoms. But maybe true liberation requires some personal sacrifice of those beloved freedoms. You can't eat a pound of cake every day and expect to lose weight. Your goals require a sacrifice. The issue of
your goals require a sacrifice. If you want something bad enough, what does wanting mean? Wanting means that you are willing to cut out everything that doesn't help you get to that goal. That's what it means to want something. Like if you truly want something, it's like, okay, well, I want to get in shape. Well, do you want to get in shape more than you, like she said, do you want to get in shape more? Do you want to eat cake? No, well, then you'll never get in shape. You can have all the cake you want. Getting cake and eating cake and being fat is easy. It's easy. It literally takes zero effort. Just wake up, eat, sleep. That's all it takes. And you do that long enough, boom, you're going to get fat. You're going to get fat. Your goals require a sacrifice. If you guys don't get anything else from this video, it should be that quote. Your goals require a sacrifice. I might do a video on just that topic alone on my other channel. Yeah.
equal pay is another primary subject that feminists bring up. It's also probably the #1 most misrepresented topic in feminism. The gender pay gap does not exist because of the patriarchy oppressing women. The pay gap only exists because women are more likely to choose lower paying jobs. If you compare a man and a woman working at the same place, in the same position, with the same amount of experience working the same amount of hours, the pay is exactly the same. But when you compare the average income of men versus women, there's obviously going to be a gap. This is because men choose careers like car mechanics and truck driving, whereas women choose careers like teaching and nursing. A quick comparison of these incomes, and it's easy to see why there's a pay gap. It's not misogyny that creates this gap, it's just preference. Women have all the freedom in the world to go be an automotive.
And again, that's what feminism was about, was personal choice. It's like I was watching this podcast, and I think it was Joe Rogan who was talking about this, and he says the power of personal choice means that if you decide to get up and run every day at noon, and you do that for an hour, and I get up at noon and I don't do any of that, but I get mad at you for fat shaming me, or I'm always complaining about being fat, and then you say, well, what have you done about it? And then I accuse you of fat shaming me. It's like, it's not fat shaming. You're actively making these choices. If you want to be a nurse, you want to be a teacher, cool. You have the option to do that. If you want to be a girl boss or a boss babe, cool. You have the option to do that. It gets to a point now where it's like, okay, now we're just making up stuff to be mad about to some degree. We're at a point now where a lot of the feminists, at least online and stuff like that, they always point to like the 0.1% of men at the top of the totem pole, but they never talk about like the 70+% of men at the bottom. You know, most homeless people are men. Most people that are likely to self-delete are men. There's a lot of people at the bottom, and most of those people are men. But if feminism was actually about equality, like how a lot of feminists say, then what feminist movements are there for those men? What feminist movements are there to like get women to be more blue collar workers or bricklayers and stuff like that? There's actually none, because that's not what really matters to them. They don't want the hard jobs and the hard laborious jobs. Men don't even want to do those jobs. We do it because we understand that our role is to protect, provide, and provision, and we'll do anything that we can to be useful for the people that we care about and the people that we love. But they believe now it's like air conditioned feminism. It's like, okay, only when it suits me do I want to bring up these feminist talking points. But the minute it doesn't, no, I'm out. I'm out. Can't even do it.
Mechanic. Just like men can become teachers, but that's not typically what each gender wants to do on average. So from the outside, when you show the statistic of the gender pay gap, everyone's jaw drops and jumps to conclusions about sexism. But if you just look a little deeper, it's easy to see why it's there. If you're a woman and you're unhappy with your salary as a teacher, go be a truck driver. It is actually that simple. Something I can't stand about the feminist movement, and really many other modern movements, is how evasive they are to taking responsibility. If you're not happy with your pay, change jobs. You don't have to make it a political movement. You don't have to find someone to blame. You can just do something to change your situation. You can't really talk about feminism without also talking about the red pill manosphere space. This is because they respond to one another culturally. The red pill purports that they have the solutions to
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, RP stuff is 100% just a response to more modern day feminism, not first wave feminism. I think a lot of the guys in the RP space would actually agree with a lot of the stuff in first and maybe even second wave feminism. The third and fourth wave, definitely not. That's when you have a lot of this stuff coming out where it's like, well, if you're going to just use me for food, then I'm just going to use you for sex. Oh, you can't do that. That's wrong and misogynist. Well, okay, well, you're using me, but I can't use you. It's right that you do it because hundreds of years ago, some men who didn't even look like me just had all of the power, essentially. And that's not even true in and of itself. What are we talking about here? What are we doing? So, yeah, no, that's true too.
These modern
Facts.
feminist problems. Spoiler alert, they don't. The red pill solution is extremely unrealistic for the majority of both men and women. The red pill has this
Mm,
idea that women need to just skip college and go back to being housewives, except that most of the men saying this would never be able to afford that lifestyle. Homie,
mm,
you don't even have the career to be able to pay for the lifestyle of the woman that you want. The red pill will blame women for failing to fulfill their feminine roles without even recognizing that as men, they're failing just as badly at fulfilling their masculine ones. I really
mm.
don't think that the red pill's idea of expecting men to be able to afford supporting an entire family on their one income is realistic at all. I think in theory, the traditional family
In America, no. In America, she's 1,000% right. I don't know if she's going to get into this, but a part of that space as well is Passport Bros saying, because they've acknowledged that. Like, yes, you're saying, like, oh, a woman should just be in the kitchen. She should just be cooking and cleaning. Okay, are you going to provide for the entire family with your truck driver salary? Maybe you can. And if you can, cool. But now you're away from home all the time because you're working. Now, yes, you're providing financially, but are you providing emotionally and mentoring your children? Being there for your wife, are you doing those things? Well, probably not if you always have to work again in America. There's some people that have remote jobs, cyber jobs, and they get to work from home. Cool, best of both worlds. Best of both worlds. But then there's other people that get paid in American USD and they go live in whatever country their wife is from, and they're living like a king, a sultan, off of like $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month in some countries covers rent, utilities, vacation, food, groceries, and the whole nine. I know like when I went to South Africa, I was in a I was in an apartment that was almost 1,000 square feet. I was there for 2 weeks, and I think the whole thing cost like $800 just to stay there. Had food, groceries. Ubering was essentially free because I put it all on my Amex card. So every time I called an Uber, I got that money right back up to $120, and I didn't even break the 120 for the 2 weeks that I was there. So in America, she's 100% right. It's not really realistic. But Passport Bros comes in there and says, "Hey, it's not really realistic in America. The dollar's falling, whatever, whatever." If you're in another country and you're getting paid in dollars, then it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game.
dynamic is a great idea and would make very happy, healthy relationships. But in modern times, less than one fourth of men will ever be financially capable of achieving such a feat. In today's economy, the trad lifestyle is reserved for only the most prosperous men. But yet the red pill preaches it like it's the majority solution. Pew Research shows in 2022 only 23% of households had the husband as the sole provider of income. That means 77% of women were contributing to household income. Most guys just aren't out here making enough money to support himself, a woman, and kids. And in today's economy, I would say that's pretty understandable. What I don't see the red pill talking about is how a lot of women would love to adopt the traditional lifestyle, but there's just not enough prosperous men to go around. Given
They do talk about that, but they don't frame it in that way. They frame it by the 80-20 rule, the 90-10 rule, the 99-5 rule, the 99-1 rule, whatever the case may be. There's a channel on YouTube called Ho Math, and he talks about it where she's right. There's not everyone can be Jeff Bezos. All right, there's only one Jeff Bezos, but that just means that Jeff Bezos gets to have every woman from a 10 all the way down to a 1. Every woman's going to want Jeff Bezos. So the red pill does talk about these things. They just don't frame it in the same way that she's framing it. Again, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. That's the data. Most men aren't going to be able to support themselves, a wife, kids, all on just that man's income. And I would argue for the men that can do that as well, there's another subsection of men that aren't going to be able to do that while still providing other things for the family, actually giving that family time, giving your wife your time, going to church, all the things that, women want you to do in a relationship because you're always going to be at work just to make ends meet or, being at work to make sure that your family lives a good life, but you're never home, so they always miss you. So she's not wrong, but the red pill does talk about that. They definitely talk about
In
that.
an alternative, many women might very well choose to be a housewife. Feminism might be the only movement that can get away with constantly complaining about how oppressive it is to be objectified and then simultaneously objectify themselves. The problem is that this movement wants all the benefits of feminism without any of its consequences. Say you want equality until you realize that means splitting the bills, unclogging the toilet, and having to kill the spider. In modern relationships, it's common for the financial theory of the woman to be everything he makes is ours and everything I make is mine, rather than both partners contributing equally, which is what feminism claims to want to do. There's a book called
100%.
Sexual Utopian Power by Roger Devlin that sums this up perfectly. The modern woman wants all the benefits of a traditional marriage, but is unwilling to pay the cost. She wants a man to marry her without her having to marry the man. Some feminists are even demanding that there be. The modern woman wants all.
Yo, that's a bar. Modern women want all of the benefit. What did she say? Modern women want all of the benefits of a traditional woman. She wants to be able to have the man marry her without her having to marry the man. And I mean that's reflected in divorce rates. That's reflected in dating and everything. Wow. You even have some women out here that have like starter husbands, where they'll go out and get a guy, nerdy guy, whatever, loved her for a very long time, and then she gets him, takes him for everything that he's worth, and then she's off to the next guy, the guy that she really wants, or the next guy that she can get. After she uses his alimony money to get a BBL and lip fillers, now she's 42, posted up on the beach in Miami, trying to pull young dudes. Wow, that's a quote though.
The benefits of a traditional marriage, but is unwilling to pay the cost. She wants a man to marry her without her having to marry the man. Some feminists are even demanding that there be quotas for women to be in executive positions, but they never talk about there being quotas for women in bricklaying. It's clear that modern feminism wants all the benefits.
Bro, she has killed everything that I've said in this video. I didn't watch all of this. I watched maybe like the first 20 seconds. I was like, I gotta react to this. She is cooking though. She is cooking every single point. She is on it.
She wants a man to marry her without her having to marry the man. Some feminists are even demanding that there be quotas for women to be in executive positions, but they never talk about there being quotas for women in bricklaying. It's clear that modern feminism wants all the benefits of something without any of its sacrifice. Let's be very clear. That is not equality. That's privilege.
Hey, that was a fantastic video. Every bullet point she hit. I don't really have much more to say. What was the name of this channel again? Name of this channel is Finding Sky. Finding Sky, that fantastic video. She hit everything bullet point by bullet point. It's also interesting. She did kind of have the red pill slightly represented. Jesus, can't talk. Slightly misrepresented. Represented. Yeah, slightly misrepresented. I don't know. She got it wrong in a little bit on the red pill stuff. I think once Andrew Tate really blew up, a lot of people kind of pumped the brakes. I was like, whoa, where are we going with this? This doesn't make any sense. This isn't right. That isn't right. We need to kind of go back and fix some things. But it kind of goes to show you though, like you could say that the red pill space is like the male version of feminism. It's in the sense that they again culturally bounce off of one another. But men still took accountability to a large degree. Not every person, but to a large degree. And went, whoa, this is getting weird. We're not exactly where we need to be with this stuff. This is kind of getting off the hinges. But it just seems like with feminism, a lot of the times on the extreme examples I'm talking, not the everyday. Most people can be in the middle. But it seems like with the extreme examples of feminism, it just gets more and more misandrous. It gets more and more I hate men, more and more what do you do for me, more and more it just gets crazy. But as far as the points that she brought up in the video, absolutely crushed it, absolutely killed it, and I couldn't agree more. So yeah, if you like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys would like to see me react to so I can react to it. And until the next time, peace.
Rapper with battle bars, it's crazy, I master bars. Life gave me a shitty hand, I still pulled that MasterCard. Chick named Navi got a body, blew her back out Avatar. She called me Sir Raps a lot, even though she let me hit it raw. You do shit, just quit, because I'm like a squid. Man, I'm armed and I'm dangerous, I'm like Aang with it, because I mastered all 4 elements. I fire spit the